If you've ever thought, what if I'm totally on my own when everything goes sideways? You're not being dramatic. You're doing the one thing most people avoid. You're running the scenario before the scenario runs you. And here's the truth. Being isolated doesn't always mean wilderness. It can mean your car dies on an empty road. It can mean a storm cuts off your neighborhood. It can mean the grid is down and help is delayed long enough that you're basically your own rescue. So this is a practical guide to surviving isolation. Not fantasy, not superhuman survival. Just the real priorities that keep you alive when it's you, your choices, and whatever you can do with your hands. Quick disclaimer. This is general information only. It's not medical advice or legal advice. Follow local laws, respect private property, and don't do anything reckless. Your best survival skill is still prevention and planning. Now, the first thing you need isn't gear, it's control, because isolation tries to steal your control by flooding your brain with panic, and panic makes people waste time on the wrong problems. So here's the first move, every time. Stop, breathe, decide what kind of isolation you're in. Are you stuck but safe, like at home after a grid failure? Are you exposed, like broken down in bad weather? Are you injured, lost, or disoriented? Because that answer changes your priorities. A simple rule that helps is this: threats first, comfort second. If you're bleeding, cold, overheated, or in immediate danger, that's your problem. Not food, not fancy plans, not, I wonder what's happening on the news. Once immediate danger is handled, you go into the core sequence. Stabilize your body, stabilize your shelter, secure water, then worry about food. Most people do the opposite because hunger feels urgent. But dehydration and exposure end you way faster than a missed meal. Now let's talk mindset, but in a normal person way. Your brain is going to tell stories when you're alone. It will try to predict the worst. It will replay mistakes. It will make you feel like every sound is a threat and every hour is a countdown. So you need one mental habit. Turn fear into tasks. Not big tasks, small tasks. Get dry. Get out of the wind. Find or create shade. Inventory what I have. Make one good decision. When your mind has a list, it stops spinning. A second habit that matters is self-talk, and I know that sounds cheesy until you've been alone in the dark with a problem. Your internal voice needs to be your teammate, not your enemy. Instead of "I'm screwed," say, "Okay, step one." Instead of "this is hopeless," and say, "What's the next useful move?" It's not motivation, it's management. Now, shelter. Shelter doesn't mean a cabin. Shelter means controlling heat loss and heat gain. Wind, rain, cold ground, and direct sun are your biggest enemies. You want to reduce exposure and create a stable little pocket where your body isn't burning calories just to stay alive. Location matters. If you're in the wilderness, avoid the bottom of gullies and dry stream beds. They flood. Avoid ridge tops where wind is relentless. Think slightly elevated, protected, and not directly under dead branches. If you're in a neighborhood or urban area and the power's out, shelter may be staying put and making one room more livable rather than roaming around burning energy. Once you choose your spot, prioritize the ground. People obsess over roofs and forget the floor. Cold ground steals heat like a thief. Even in mild weather, it drains you. So build insulation under you. Leaves, pine needles, cardboard, spare clothes, anything dry that creates an air layer between you and the earth. Then focus on wind and moisture. A simple windbreak can change your entire night. If you have a tarp, poncho, emergency blanket, even a large trash bag, your job is to create a barrier that blocks wind and sheds water. If you don't have that, you can still use natural cover, like dense brush or rock formations, but keep it safe and stable. Your shelter doesn't have to be pretty. It has to keep you from getting soaked and robbed of heat while you sleep. Now water. Water is the boss in isolation. Even if you feel fine, dehydration sneaks up and turns your brain into mush. Bad decisions happen fast when you're dehydrated, so your water goal is 2 parts. Find it, then make it safer. If you're in a city or neighborhood with outages, Water may still exist for a while in the system. Fill containers early. Bathtub, bottles, pots, whatever you've got. If you wait until the pressure dies, you'll wish you hadn't. If you're out in the wild, look for water intelligently. Low areas with greener vegetation, animal trails that converge, places where the land naturally collects runoff. But here's the crucial thing. Clear water is not guaranteed safe water. In a survival situation, stomach bugs can wreck you. If you're alone, diarrhea and vomiting aren't just uncomfortable. They're dangerous. So you want redundancy. If you can boil, boil. A rolling boil is the simplest method most people can understand and do. If you can't boil, use a reliable water filter if you have one. If you have purification tablets, follow the directions. Don't wing it. If you're truly stuck without those options, you can still improve water by letting sediment settle, filtering through cloth to remove particles, and then using a treatment method you trust. The goal is reducing risk as much as possible, not pretending you can make perfect water out of nothing. Now, food. Food matters, but not on day one the way people think. Your first food goal is energy with minimal risk. If you're at home, your best food is already in your kitchen. Use what spoils first. Keep meals simple. Don't turn the outage into a gourmet project that burns fuel and broadcasts smell. If you're in the wild, don't gamble with unknown plants. This is where people get hurt. If you don't already know local edible plants with real confidence, your best move is to avoid mystery greens and focus on staying hydrated, sheltered, and moving smart. Hunger is easier to tolerate than poisoning yourself. That said, if you do have knowledge, keep it conservative. Familiar plants only. Familiar methods only. No desperation experiments. Now fire, but the safe version. Fire gives warmth, morale, a way to boil water, and a signal if you want to be found. It can also create problems if you're careless. If you build a fire, do it with safety in mind. Clear a small area. Keep it contained. Don't build under branches. Don't build on peat or deep leaf litter that can smolder underground. If you're in a dry area, fire can be a huge risk. Sometimes the smarter move is not making one at all and focusing on layering, windbreaks, and staying sheltered. If you do have a fire, treat it like a resource. Keep it small. A small fire you can manage is better than a big fire that burns your woodpile in 1 hour. Now orientation and navigation. If you're lost, the most dangerous thing you can do is wander without a plan. Stop and think in terms of probability. Do you know the direction back to a road, a trail, a landmark? Do you have daylight, weather coming? If you're unsure, a smart move is often to stay put in a safe location, make yourself easier to find, and conserve energy. People get into trouble by turning one problem into 3 problems. Lost becomes lost and injured because they rushed through bad terrain. If you decide to move, do it with structure. Mark your path. Keep a mental timeline. Don't burn yourself out early. In urban isolation, navigation can be even weirder because your phone might not work and familiar routes may be blocked. That's where paper maps and 2 ways home planning matters. Even a printed screenshot of your area can be a lifesaver if networks fail. Now let's talk health and first aid, the part nobody wants to think about until it's too late. When you're alone, small injuries become big problems because you don't have backup. So your priorities are: prevent injuries first, then treat early, not late. Foot care matters more than people admit. Dry socks, dry shoes, and avoiding blisters can be the difference between I can move and I'm stuck. Cuts should be cleaned and covered with the cleanest materials available. Keep wounds as clean and dry as you can and watch for signs of infection. If you're alone, infection is a serious problem. Prevention beats heroics. Heat and cold injuries are also a major risk. In cold, early signs like uncontrolled shivering and clumsiness are a warning, not a joke. In heat, dizziness, confusion, and stopping sweat are huge red flags. In both cases, your move is simple. Get out of the conditions causing the problem and stabilize your body before you do anything else. Now, mental health, because isolation is a head game. You need routine, not a fancy routine, a simple one. Morning. Water, shelter check, plan. Midday, gather what you need while daylight is strong. Evening, lock in your shelter, reduce risk, calm your body down. Routine stops your mind from drifting into fear loops. It also makes time feel less like a monster. If you have any way to record thoughts, do it. Notes on paper, notes in your phone, even a simple mental recap at night. It keeps your brain organized. Now, signaling and communication. Isolation doesn't always mean nobody's coming. Sometimes help is possible, but you need to be findable. If you want rescue, make it easy. Bright color helps. Contrast helps. Movement helps. A whistle is great. A mirror can be great. A visible signal on open ground can help if aircraft are possible. But don't exhaust yourself screaming into the wind. Use short, purposeful signals. Preserve your voice and your energy. If your goal is to stay unnoticed for safety reasons, that's a different plan. Then you focus on low signature behavior. Minimal light, minimal noise, minimal obvious trails. But again, keep it legal and safe. Now the part that ties all of this together. Your best survival skill is priorities. When you're alone, you don't get to do everything. You do what matters most. Shelter and body temperature, water, injury prevention, then food, then comfort. And you don't do it once. You repeat it daily, calmly like a system. That's how regular people survive isolation. Not by being tough, not by being fearless, by being organized when their brain wants to panic. So if you take one thing from this, take this. Isolation doesn't defeat you with one big event. It defeats you with small mistakes stacking up. Your job is to stop the stack. Stay calm, stay conservative, and keep your actions simple enough that you can do them when you're tired and stressed. That's how you make it through.